Hello everyone, I'm Jed Shlackman, and I work as a holistic counselor, energy healer, and hypnotherapist. And in this video I'll be discussing a few topics or themes that have come up in the healing work that I facilitate. And I'm referring to this particular segment as one about boundaries, discernment, heart, mind, vision, and balancing empathy and connection with caution and protection. And it's a bit of a long story with multiple themes and contexts included. And I'm sharing this with the intention that you may glean some helpful insight from it. This story begins as a case of a client who has a natural empathic nature and desire to be friendly and connect with people. Someone who sort of naturally likes to be interacting with an open, trusting heart, focused on seeing the positive in people, while at times being oblivious to hazards or negative aspects of a person that are likely visible to others. So this client was interacting with and befriending a new employee at his job. And when this was happening, other coworkers began to warn him to be cautious as they saw a sociopathic element to this new person's character that the individual I'm describing had ignored. What happened there was in a conversation among coworkers where the client was present, the new employee had expressed a view that a sexual boundary violation of having sex with an intoxicated person who wasn't really capable of consenting or resisting was acceptable in the view of that individual. So my client was wondering why that didn't trigger him to put up a guard toward that person. Some significant context here is that this client I'm referring to is a transgender individual, a person who was born female, who was sexually molested by her father as a child, and later as a young adult made the transition to a male identity, continuing to process body image and sexual safety and intimacy challenges before and after the transition. This person has done a substantial amount of healing work to overcome insecurities and social anxieties, shifting from a lot of isolating to becoming much more outgoing and sociable, which is in alignment with this person's deeper nature in that sense. This person has also been undergoing a shift in relationship to spirituality, as his biological father that had molested the young girl, past version of himself, had dabbled in spiritual practices that had connected the father to dark energies and influences, and the father then rejected spirituality and turned toward atheism. The client had a long-standing fear of spiritual exploration despite natural intuition and attraction to spirituality, and had feared that spiritual practice could lead himself to draw in something dark and become like his father. In guided meditation to connect with inner spiritual guidance, the client was shown that he has an open heart, but also needs to develop vision and mental discernment, as the heart being open without clarity of perception and discernment brings increased vulnerability to harm. One further topic to mention here is the complexity and multifaceted nature of the transgender phenomenon. There are biological, biochemical, social, psychological, and spiritual factors that can all contribute to a person rejecting their birth gender and identifying with the opposite gender. Ideally, they would receive guidance and help investigating those multiple factors so they can make a conscious, well-informed choice about whether or not going through medical transition treatments would be in their best interest, or whether they might shift their gender identification to be congruent with the birth gender upon addressing any or all of those factors that triggered the gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia, or desire to change gender. For example, social influence, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse or neglect, biochemical exposures, attachment to a past life personality, gender, etc. While supporting freedom of choice and freedom of sexual expression or gender expression, it helps to realize that freedom is actually limited by what information and awareness we have, as well as the intersection of one's free choice with the freedoms of others in a shared reality construct. Both quote-unquote anti-trans and quote-unquote pro-trans ideologies tend to come from rather narrow, limited perspectives that don't account for the depth and complexity of the subject. As spiritual beings processing our human experience, seeking to meet needs of survival, safety, belonging, pleasure, connection, purpose, etc., people are all on their individual journey of forming a temporary identity that is not actually the core or essence of self. The spiritual self contains the union or potential of both masculine and feminine polarities, which get expressed in a polarized way on the physical plane as male or female. A balanced, non-polarized being would be hermaphroditic and androgynous, and all experiences are valid and serve a purpose, whether male, female, or containing both genders. So creation allows for all of those gender identities to manifest. There's nothing bad or wrong or immoral about the existence of being androgynous or hermaphroditic, of changing one's gender. Ultimately, they are all just experiences that our spiritual essence is exploring and learning from. So there's no value in rejecting or denying any of that. However, as we're evolving, we would like to become more conscious, more intentional about how we're forming our identity, our values, our path in life. So these are topics to explore and reflect upon. We can look at our own personal journey, our own development during our lifetime, seeing how we've reacted and responded to our environment, to our experiences, and how that shapes how we see ourselves, how we identify ourselves, what we are actually embracing as our individual identity. So these are some interesting themes to explore, and I also want to go back to the first part where we discussed integrating the heart and the mind to have that ability to use our discernment to set boundaries when we need to, so we can have a sort of flexibility in terms of our heart opening or protecting. We naturally desire to connect with other people, but we also naturally desire to avoid unpleasant experiences as we're relating to other people, and there's a potential to go to one extreme or another where we're extraordinarily open and don't set any boundaries, and eventually that is going to lead to some unpleasant, painful experiences where harm is inflicted upon us. When that happens, we may end up shifting and going to the opposite extreme, where we become very guarded, very closed and cautious, and not trusting connecting with other people. When that happens, we're not able to fully enjoy relationships and experiences. We're just cutting ourselves off and constricting our experience of life. So it's helpful to be aware that both of those extremes can manifest, and to find more of a healthy balance between those polarities. To do that, we need to have the ability to combine both the heart consciousness, that open heart, with our vision, our perception, our ability to reason, to discern things with the mind. So if you think about our energy system and our energy centers, what are called chakras, we want to have clarity and balance with all of them. We can't be only focused through the heart, or only through our third eye, or only through our solar plexus, our power center. We actually want to integrate and bring into harmony and coherence all of them, so we can function in this kind of holistic, cohesive way. I hope that this case study, you could say, or example, and the related discussion has given you some ideas and insights to apply in your own life, in your own relationships. For those who are interested in holistic health and spirituality, I would invite you to visit my website, where I have additional resources. It's PHINSIGHTS.com. I also invite viewers to read some relevant books I've published. Those are available on Amazon.com, so you can just search my name for the author page there to see the list of books available. For now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.